3 ways Liv Morgan can defeat IYO Sky in the final of WWE Queen of the Ring 2026. Hello guys, welcome to my channel. I am Elena. Have a nice day. For the latest news update, please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon. The Queen of the Ring final at WWE Night of Champions 2026 promises to be one of the biggest matches of the year. Women's World Champion Liv Morgan and former World Champion IYO Sky have battled through the tournament to earn their spots. Morgan defeated Charlotte Flair, and Sky overcame Raquel Rodriguez in the semifinals. While the genius of the Sky may have the edge inside the squared circle thanks to her unmatched athleticism and high-flying offense, the Miracle Kid has evolved into one of WWE's smartest and most opportunistic competitors. As the de facto leader of the Judgment Day, she has several avenues to leave Saudi Arabia with the Queen of the Ring crown. That said, in this article, we look at 3 ways Liv Morgan could defeat IYO Sky in the Queen of the Ring final. Number 3. Liv Morgan targets IYO Sky's leg and forces a submission to become 2026 WWE Queen of the Ring. Liv Morgan has become far more methodical over the last 2 years. Rather than relying solely on speed and resilience, she has learned to dismantle opponents by focusing on a specific body part before locking in a submission. Fans saw exactly that in the Queen of the Ring semifinal against Charlotte Flair. Morgan relentlessly attacked Flair's injured knee before forcing the Queen to submit with a Boston Crab. Thus, a similar strategy could work against IYO Sky. IYO Sky's offense depends heavily on her mobility. Whether it's her springboard missile dropkick, running knees, or the breathtaking over-the-moonsault, nearly every signature move requires explosive movement. If the Miracle Kid spends the early stages of the match attacking Sky's knee or ankle, she could neutralize those weapons entirely. With the genius of the Sky unable to fly, Liv Morgan would be able to slow the pace of the contest and repeatedly lock in submission holds. A damaged leg could ultimately prevent IYO from escaping another Boston Crab, thus giving Morgan a clean and convincing victory, while further cementing her evolution into one of WWE's most dangerous technicians. The Judgment Day provides the perfect distraction. Liv Morgan has repeatedly proven that she's at her most dangerous when Judgment Day has her back. Although IYO Sky possesses enough experience to overcome outside interference, the Judgment Day has become increasingly unpredictable. Dominic Mysterio, J.D. McDonough, Raquel Rodriguez, and Roxanne Perez all remain capable of influencing a match if the opportunity presents itself, even as tensions continue to simmer within the faction. Recent WWE Raw segments have highlighted disagreements between Morgan, Rodriguez, and Perez. However, they have also shown that the group is still willing to rally around Liv when it matters most. Thus, one brief distraction could completely change the outcome. Imagine Raquel Rodriguez climbing onto the apron to distract IYO while the referee is occupied with Dominic Mysterio, arguing at ringside. That momentary lapse could allow the Miracle Kid to rake the eyes, deliver an oblivion, or roll IYO up with a handful of tights. Such a finish would protect Sky from appearing weak, while reinforcing Morgan's reputation as someone who will exploit every available advantage. Also, it would continue the ongoing Judgment Day story, using numbers to maintain its dominance across WWE programming. Liv Morgan capitalizes on one mistake and steals the victory. If there's one thing fans have learned about Liv Morgan's current run, perhaps it's that she rarely needs multiple openings to win a match. IYO Sky is arguably one of WWE's most spectacular performers. However, her high-risk offense naturally comes with significant danger. Every time she climbs to the top rope, she puts herself in a position where a single mistake could cost her everything. The Miracle Kid doesn't need to out-wrestle the genius of the Sky for 20 minutes. Perhaps she simply needs to survive long enough for IYO to make one costly error. That error could come when IYO Sky attempts the over-the-moonsault. Liv Morgan could roll out of the way at the last second, thus leaving Sky clutching her ribs after crashing onto the canvas. As IYO struggles to recover, Morgan could immediately hit an oblivion for the decisive 3 count. This type of finish would perfectly suit both competitors. The genius of the Sky would remain protected because she largely controlled the action. Meanwhile, the Miracle Kid would once again demonstrate why she's become one of WWE's most opportunistic champions. Also, a victory like this would create compelling intrigue heading into SummerSlam. Winning Queen of the Ring would further strengthen Liv Morgan's claim that she is the greatest women's champion in WWE today. On the other hand, it would give IYO SKY a legitimate reason to demand another championship opportunity down the line. With the tournament crown on the line and both women carrying tremendous momentum into Night of Champions, expect a dramatic encounter. 4 things we learned from Liv Morgan's latest interview before the Queen of the Ring final. Liv Morgan is set to face IYO SKY in the final of the 2026 Queen of the Ring tournament. The Miracle Kid already holds the Women's World Championship that she won at WrestleMania 42, but she wants to win the WWE Women's title as well. And become a double champion, Morgan defeated Becky Lynch, Chelsea Green, and Alexa Bliss in the first round, and beat Charlotte Flair in the semi-final to secure her spot in the final. Ahead of facing the Genius of the Sky, Morgan sat down with Jackie Redmond for an interview on WWE's YouTube channel. The Judgment Day member discussed various topics, which we will cover today. Here are 4 things we learned from Liv Morgan's latest interview ahead of Night of Champions. Even though the Judgment Day appears united, tensions have been building underneath the surface. Raquel Rodriguez and Roxanne Perez have started noticing Liv Morgan's tendency to only care about herself. Jackie Redmond asked the Miracle Kid if things were okay within the faction and brought up fans and critics saying that Morgan was using her stablemates. Morgan quickly shut down the idea that there were any issues among the members and stated that she was pushing her teammates for other opportunities. Yeah, I've not heard that at all. Not even once. Is that what people are saying? The Judgment Day is a united front. We are a family. I don't know how I can be using Roxanne, Raquel, or JD when I just told Raquel to go for the IC title. I've tried to win the Tag Team Championship with Raquel. I told JD to get the IC title off of Penta. So, how can I be using them when I am pushing for their success? Because a success for one is a success for all in the Judgment Day, Morgan said. It remains to be seen whether the other members share Morgan's view. The one person who can get her to do another music video ahead of WrestleMania 42, Liv Morgan released the music video for her song Trouble, which eventually became her new theme song. During the interview, Jackie Redmond asked the Miracle Kid who influenced her song. Morgan said that she wanted her single to sound like music from the early 2000s and mentioned some major names from that era. Yeah, I think I wanted it to be everything that I loved about early 2000s pop. Y2K. You know, it was very much Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, the Pussycat Dolls, just women that I loved watching, loved being entertained by, growing up. And I was able to channel that in the masterpiece that is Trouble by the Liv Morgan, Liv said. When asked about the possibility of releasing more music, Morgan initially said she was happy with how Trouble turned out and would be happy to leave it at that. However, she would also be happy to collaborate with Britney Spears if the legendary pop star reached out. Oh, I'm answering. Anything for Britney. I'm answering if Britney calls, but yeah, I'm not closed off, but I think that Trouble is pretty amazing. And so I would not be disappointed if this is where my music career, laughs, starts and ends, she concluded. Justified the poor booking of her title reign. Liv Morgan has been the Women's World Champion since WrestleMania 42, but she has yet to defend the title on television. Initially, it appeared that her feud with Stephanie Vaquer would continue after La Primera confronted her on the episode of Raw after the Show of Shows. However, Vaquer was sidelined due to an injury, leaving Morgan without a challenger. Fans have been critical of the Judgment Day member's booking as champion, which she addressed and attempted to justify during the interview. Morgan stated in character that nobody from the Raw women's division wanted to challenge her because she was the greatest women's world champion of all time. But why I did have to enter the Queen of the Ring tournament, Jackie, is because none of the girls on Raw wanted to challenge me. Do you want to know why they didn't want to challenge me? Because I am the Liv Morgan. I am the greatest women's world champion of all time, and I have the most dominant faction in the history of WWE, behind my back, having my back, Morgan said. It remains to be seen who steps up as Morgan's first challenger. Liv Morgan talked about the possibility of facing Rhea Ripley at SummerSlam. The winner of the Queen of the Ring tournament will receive a world title shot at SummerSlam, and since Liv Morgan already holds the Women's World Championship, she would naturally challenge Rhea Ripley if she goes on to win the coveted crown. Jackie Redmond asked Morgan how she felt about potentially facing the Eradicator at the biggest party of the summer. Morgan responded by saying that she had beaten Rhea at SummerSlam before, and she was excited to do it again. "No, I'm not unaware of how great Rhea is and how accomplished Rhea is, but the fact of the matter is I've beaten Rhea at SummerSlam. I've taken her title and I'm so excited to do it again," Morgan said. Liv Morgan will have to get past IYO SKY first this Saturday at Night of Champions in Riyadh. Not so smart, though. Liv Morgan responds to former champion who wants a first-time match against her Liv. Morgan has responded to NXT sensation Kendall Gray, who claimed she would want to face Morgan on the main roster. Gray is a former Evolve Women's champion. She had defeated Kali Armstrong to win the title before eventually moving to NXT. On NXT, she has already challenged Jacy Jayne for the NXT Women's Championship and is once again set to challenge for the title at the Great American Bash. She will face the reigning champion, Lola Vice. Morgan acknowledged Gray's comments, with the latter claiming she wants to face the reigning WWE Women's World Champion on the main roster. Morgan thinks Gray is talented, but isn't smart enough. Liv Morgan spoke about her latest run with the WWE Women's World Championship. Liv Morgan opened up about her latest run as the WWE Women's World Champion, which has been underwhelming with the lack of title defenses. She won the title at WrestleMania 42 by dethroning Stephanie Vacker. Speaking to Jackie Redmond, Morgan claimed that she entered the Queen of the Ring tournament because none of the superstars on Raw wanted to challenge her, as she considers herself the greatest women's world champion of all time, with the backing of the most. But why I did have to enter the Queen of the Ring tournament, Jackie, is because none of the girls on Raw wanted to challenge me. Do you want to know why they didn't want to challenge me? Because I am the Liv Morgan. I am the greatest women's world champion of all time, and I had the most dominant faction in the history of WWE behind my back, having my back. Morgan will face IYO SKY in the final of the Queen of the Ring tournament. With a win over the Genius of the Sky, Morgan could continue her quest to potentially become a double champion. Liv Morgan attempts to justify WWE's poor booking of her title reign. Liv Morgan won the Women's World Championship at WrestleMania 42 by defeating Stephanie Vacker. Since the victory, she has not defended her title on WWE TV. Vacker couldn't have her rematch as she was unfortunately injured and had to go on hiatus, but no one else feuded with Morgan following WrestleMania. Fans and critics have now begun to question her title reign, but the Miracle Kid has been quick to dismiss any doubts that anyone may have about her being the greatest women's champion of all time. Morgan had an interesting perspective to offer in our recent interview with Jackie Redmond ahead of Night of Champions. Liv Morgan says that the girls in the locker room are too afraid to face her, and that this is the reason she had to get herself into the Queen of the Ring tournament to prove any doubters wrong by climbing all the way to the top. But why I did have to enter the Queen of the Ring tournament, Jackie, is because none of the girls on Raw wanted to challenge me. Do you want to know why they didn't want to challenge me? Because I am the Liv Morgan. I am the greatest women's world champion of all time, and I had the most dominant faction in the history of WWE behind my back, having my back, said Morgan. Liv Morgan continued by saying that the women's division isn't dumb enough to take her on, after being aware of her advantages, which is why she sought to be in the tournament herself. These girls are scared of me, but they're not dumb. So I had to actively seek out to be in this tournament so I can have contenders so that I could prove to anyone that doubts me, if anyone still doubts me at this point, that I am the greatest, period, she said. At Night of Champions, Liv Morgan will face IYO SKY in the Queen of the Ring tournament, a creative move that many felt was absurd, as she is already the women's world champion. Although Morgan is in character during her WWE interview with Redmond, in reality, this bit is an attempt to explain her inclusion in the tournament and, worse yet, her progress to the final, which feels like a desperate attempt to justify the poor booking of her title reign. Liv Morgan says years of hard work got her to where she is. Morgan kicked off the interview by saying that her persistent hard work for 12 years has brought her to this stage, where she is the 2026 Royal Rumble winner, Women's World Champion, and Queen of the Ring finalist. Redmond asks her how she managed to achieve so much in a matter of months, what most people don't manage to do in their entire careers. Morgan responds by saying it was not an overnight success, but years of hard work finally bearing fruit for her. It's been 12 years in the making, and I'm finally able to reap the fruit of my labors. This was not an overnight success. This was me adjusting, adapting, changing, and making sure that I am better than every other woman in this locker room, said Morgan. Morgan returned at Survivor Series War Games last year, following rehabilitation of an injured shoulder that had the Miracle Kids scared about her future. Once she got back to in-ring action earlier this year, she hasn't stopped. It would be interesting to see where Morgan's story is headed next. Ways Sky takes brutal jab. At Liv Morgan, ahead of WWE Queen of the Ring finals, IYO Sky has turned her crosshairs onto Liv Morgan. The two women had an altercation on this week's episode of WWE Raw, where Morgan's cheap shot failed to work on the genius of the Sky. This time, the Japanese wrestler has chosen to make the first move and has fired shots at the Women's World Champion, IYO. Sky gives Liv Morgan a warning, calls her insufferable. The Queen of the Ring tournament's final round will take place at the 2026 Night of Champions. Ahead of their showdown in Saudi Arabia, Sky posted a tweet targeting Liv Morgan. She wrote that she couldn't stand the Judgment Day member despite her cute looks. Sky also stated that she won't let Morgan wield the Women's World Championship and the Queen of the Ring tournament crown at the same time. The opponent in the tournament final is Liv Morgan, who went viral during the World Cup for Keisuke Honda's "Who" comment. Liv is the current WWE Women's World Champion. She's insufferable, but honestly cute, and tough in matches too. But I won't let you get your hands on both the championship belt and